Hello! If you are a first-time home buyer, this video is for you. It's going to walk you through a couple of the steps that we go through throughout the transaction to make this process a smoother one. So the very first thing I'm going to do when I talk to a new client is ask them if they've spoken with a lender. If you need lender referrals, I can give you one. There's pros and cons to going with a bank and going with a broker. Banks typically can look at their rates and sometimes can give you more cash back as a buyer, but then you also have the brokers that can shop all of the products out there and might be able to give you different breaks. So there's pros and cons with both. It's entirely up to you which route you go, but I have referrals for both. We get you a pre-qualification, pre-approval. Those are necessary steps to make sure that you are actually financially ready. I've had buyers in the past that thought that they were ready, and then I went through those new agent issues of taking you out before we knew you were ready, and we get to the buying table and realize that you can't get approved for a loan, or it's a different amount, or maybe you qualified for way more and we can buy you more house. So it's just one of those steps, so I know exactly what budget we're looking at to get you into. When the lender asks you for your bank statements, your tax information, all your credit, that's between you and the lender. That stays confidential. All I get is a document from the lender that says, hey, they're approved for this much. It's this type of loan, and that's all I need to know. The reason I know the type, if it's conventional or VA or FHA, is there's sometimes extra documents as a realtor that I need to include on the actual contract when we make the offer. Okay, so that just gives you the buying power. Sometimes you might find out, hey, I'm approved for 150 now, but if I wait 6 months to a year, I'll have this much more and I can be approved for 210, which makes you a lot more accessible throughout the marketplace with what's available and being able to get what you're looking for in a home. After I have a pre-approval in hand, we can set up showings. I typically look at 3 to 5 homes with my client at a time. So far, my track record is averaging about 6 to 10 homes before we find your dream home. I have had a client find it in 1, and I have had a client find it in 84. It just depends on your budget and how specific you are with what you are looking for in a home. Then we go on some showings. We fall in love with a home. Once you've fallen in love with a home and you're ready to make an offer, we submit an offer. I do it all electronically, so there's no sitting at a table with me and signing 1,000 documents. It's all electronic, and that just speeds up the process throughout all of the things that we're going to be doing. We make an offer. Once it's accepted, sometimes it's accepted right away. Sometimes we can have a week or 2 of negotiations with the seller. Okay. Once it's accepted, you're now officially under contract. Being under contract, our next step is within 3 days to put down your earnest money and an option money. Option money is usually about $100, and it is just you having the option to get this house inspected to make sure it's the purchase you want to make. If you choose to back out of the contract at that time, all you lose is that $100 check, and the earnest will be delivered back to you. The earnest money is kind of like your first deposit on the house. It's usually about 1 to 2% of the total home purchase price. So if the home is a $150,000 home, you're looking at a $1,500 check that you're writing within those first 3 days. Now, the way that I typically write my contracts is to have it count towards your closing costs. Closing costs can go anywhere from 3% to 20% of the home's total value. Okay, you with me? So when we get to the closing table, which is usually 21 to 45 days after the initial contract has been accepted, that's when you're going to be writing that big scary check. And I'm a recent new homeowner within the last 3 years, and it's definitely a scary process, but it's an exciting process. And so depending on our negotiations and what rates your lender has is what impacts whether it's 3% or 20% that goes towards closing. Okay, everything in the contract's negotiable. That's pretty much it. Once we're in that option period or under contract, you have however long our option period was negotiated. I typically write between 7 and 10 days. That is your time to now get an inspection. Inspections in this North Texas area as of a week ago in 2020 are ranging about $350, $400. It can go up based on if you have a crawl space, if you have ranch type situation where there's other barns and outbuildings, if you have a pool. So that number kind of fluctuates, but most of the inspectors are hovering around that amount. So right out of the gate, within the first 3 to 10 days of the contract, you're expected to have 1% of the home price plus the money for an inspection. If the house needs an engineering report, that's usually $400 to $500 on top of that you're writing within that first 10 days. Then you're kind of smooth sailing until the end of closing, and at the escrow table, that's when you'll put the rest of the money down. So that is basically the process in a nutshell. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and I would be more than glad to answer them. Y'all have a great day.